Wow. I wasn't expecting the Magic to be the first team to fire shots this summer. I was hoping that we are gonna make some moves. I was hopeful that this would finally be the summer we make some real legitimate moves. But actually being the first team to make a move this summer, I wasn't expecting us to be the first team to make a move this summer. And speaking of like firing shots, they unload the clip. What's up, YouTube? Boy, back once again with another sport topic. We're here to talk some basketball, Orlando Magic basketball. You already know what it is. The Orlando Magic make a blockbuster trade, the first team to pull off a blockbuster trade this summer by acquiring shooting guard Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies. They sent a bunch of picks, sent some players out there too. And again, I am surprised that they not only pulled off this move, they pulled it off so quickly, so early. So, let's talk about it. So, the Orlando Magic pull off the first big move, the first big trade of the summer. And it's a big move and a big trade, not because of the names attached to it, because it's not like it's Kevin Durant or it's Giannis or it's LaMelo Ball or Trae Young or anything like that. It's for Desmond Bane. But it's mostly because of what this means for the Orlando Magic going forward and what most people are talking about, what the Magic gave up to acquire Desmond Bane. They gave up the rights of 5 draft picks and 2 players to get Desmond Bane. And you have some people saying that, hey, if the Magic did that for Desmond Bane, somebody who's not even a superstar, who else could they have gotten? Or what is KD going to go for? What is Giannis going to go for? What is Devin Booker going to go for? What is these other players going to go for? So what does this mean for the rest of the trades throughout the NBA? And I do think that some of the report, it's been putting a little bit, they put a little extra sauce on some of the reporting because one of the reports going around that it's 4 unprotected picks and also a pick swap. Technically, it is an unprotected pick, but it's kind of being reported, it's being disingenuous the way it's reported because one of the picks that is in those 4 unprotected picks is the 16th pick in this year's draft, which is outside the lottery, and we already know what that pick is. So the point of it being protected or unprotected is irrelevant because we already know where that pick lands. So the trade goes: the Magic send Cole Anthony, KCP, 4 picks, and a pick swap. They gave up this year's 16th pick in the 2025 NBA draft. Gave it the 16th pick. They gave up next year's pick in 2026. That pick might have the most value because that pick has the right to swap with either Phoenix or Washington. So depending on where Phoenix and Washington fall in the draft, and Washington's obviously going to be a bad team, and potentially Phoenix could be a bad team if they decide to unload both KD and potentially also unload Booker as well. That pick could be very, very valuable. Then they gave up a pick in 2028, which is unprotected. Then they gave up a pick swap in 2029, which is top 2 protected, a little bit more than in a minute. And then they also gave up pick in 2030 for that's unprotected as well. So the 4 picks is this 16th pick in this year's draft, next year's draft, 2028, 2030, and then also a pick swap in 2029, and that is top 2 protected, which means that pick lands as the first pick or the second pick, they have no chance to swap. But anything after that, they can swap, and maybe they have the rights to swap for that pick. And also, like I say, the 2020, 2030, that pick right there is completely unprotected. So 2030 and 2028 are the only ones that are completely unprotected. This year, even though technically it's unprotected, but we already know what that pick's like. It's not even a lottery pick; it's a pick 16. And also, like I said, next year's picks I feel like is the most valuable of the picks because it's you have the right to swap with either Phoenix or Washington, and more than likely one or both of those teams are going to be bad. More than likely, one of those teams, if not both of those teams, could potentially be drafted in the top 5 of next year's draft. So that pick is a very, very valuable asset. And then you also decide, to give up the salaries. You give up Cole Anthony. We just got the report last week that the Magic were willing to unload both Cole Anthony and also Ji. And I've been thinking they've been trying to fight like tooth and nail to keep both of them. and they decided. I was exactly happy that report actually came out last week, especially when people talking about Jordan Poole and stuff like that. And I was on brand. Hey, I was for the Jordan Poole move because I did think that it was going to be cost effective, that it wouldn't cost that much. You can give up Ji, you can give up Cole, and all these different type of things like that, and you still have a lot of these assets that we end up giving up in this Bane move to get somebody like Jordan Poole that actually would fit real well in with this Orlando Magic team. But the one I want to give the most credit to is giving up KCP. That's that one I have to give. I have to stand up and I'm like, yes, I'm glad you did that. Because I have to give them credit because most organizations, most teams, most organizations, and most teams and general managers, when they make bad moves, they let the bad move fester because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. Nobody wants to admit that they're wrong. I didn't like the KCP signing last year. I didn't think it was going to be a good move. But when they did it, I wasn't surprised because, like I've been saying earlier, that I feel like that they just made minimum moves. That's something that Jeff Weltman has done. Before this, the biggest move that Jeff Weltman has made as far as bringing in acquisition, and we're not talking about draft picks, is trading for Markelle Fultz at the trade deadline. What was it, in 2019? No, 2018. It was 2019. It was 2019 trade deadline when they traded for Markelle Fultz. That's been the biggest acquisition that he brought in, not a trade. Biggest acquisition he brought in, not a draft, because obviously his biggest acquisition drafting is Paolo and Franz and also Suggs. His biggest acquisition, not being a draft, would have been Markelle Fultz back in the 2019 trade deadline move. So bringing in KCP last year felt like a minimum move because we were tied to names like a Darius Garland. We were tied to names like an Anthony Simon and also a Trae Young and even Dejounte Murray last year during last summer. And those moves weren't made. Those moves were not made, and you made KCP. And that was just not a good sign. I know we were also attached to Paul George. I didn't want no parts of Paul George last summer either. But I didn't think that bringing in KCP was going to be a good move. And it worked out. That it wasn't a good move. It looked like it wasn't a good move. KCP did not look good at all as Orlando Magic. He didn't even have moments in my personal opinion. He wasn't like he was okay on defense and he was horrible from shooting. Well, that's why we were one of the worst shooting teams in the NBA. Looking at being one of the worst shooting teams of all time. That's how bad and atrocious our offense was. So them realizing that and punting on that decision, not even a calendar year later, because it hasn't even been a full year when you sign KCP. So them realizing that less than a calendar year shows progress. And to my point, like I've been saying in my last couple of videos, that the time is ticking because once you pay Paolo, you got to start making moves. And this is a move that I'm okay with. Now, I do think you gave up a lot to get Desmond Bane, but I was listening to Windhorse, and he brought up a good point that some of these picks that we gave up is really to get rid of KCP. It's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of you realizing that you had a mistake and you need to ship this guy off. And the only way that they're going to take on this guy with this contract is a bad contract is you're going to have to give them, you're going to put some sweeteners on it. You're going to have to give them extra draft capital. You're going to give them extra incentives for them to take that deal. So you're talking about you gave up 5 picks, well, the rights to 5 picks. Probably 2 of those probably the 16th pick and then possibly maybe the 2028 pick is really to get rid of KCP. Like I say, that 2026 pick and the right to swap with Phoenix and Washington, that one hurt. And when you look at those picks, you couldn't have did that for a superstar because you feel like if you did that, you could have. If you're gonna give up that, you might have to give up an extra player or two, but you could have got an actual superstar. Now, Desmond Bane fits exactly what the Magic want to do. No doubt about it. A guy that's solid and good on the defensive side of the floor, so that fits in the mindset and fits in with what Jamal Mosley wants to do, and it keeps the identity of the defense good. And we're talking about a 41 career 3-point shooter, not just 41 just on a good year. His career since 2020, he's a 41% 3-point shooter. 41% shooting from three. So he is a shooter. And I do think that this put him in this situation where he's not the number one option, he's not the number two option. It's him and Suggs battling for 3 and 4 is a good sweet spot. And speaking of Jalen Suggs, because you brought in the shooting guard, because I was in the mindset I want us to bring in the point guard. I think that a point guard is definitely what we needed. They've put their stamp that Jalen Suggs is your point guard for the foreseeable future. And I thought the writing was on the wall. It's a small thing. I thought the writing was on the wall 2 weeks ago when they opened up with the new brand. And they showed us what the new jersey is going to look like. And they had Paulo, France, understandably, and also Suggs as the mainstays of showing off all three new jerseys. And so this is small, and I know it's kind of like what it probably doesn't mean anything, but they were the only three that were showcasing the jerseys in their correct jersey numbers and name. Because when they had the silver and they had KCP out there, they had player and had 2024 had 25 for the year 25. Because when I first seen KCP, I'm like, did KCP change his number from 3 to 25? And then I seen the back of the jersey say play. I'm like, oh, that's just the generic for the year. Like that's just a generic for the generic for the year. Because last year when the Texans when we showed our new jerseys last year, they had all 24. Everybody wasn't wearing Stingley's jersey number. They just showed the number 24 because that was the year that we were in, where it was 2024 last year when they unveiled their new jerseys. So they showed the 25 because we're in 2025. So for KCP and the Silver to not have their jerseys, but you made sure that Paulo, Franz, and Suggs, to me, that was a small hint right there that Suggs not going nowhere, which I'm fine with. I have no problem with Suggs staying here. I want Suggs to be a two guard instead of being the primary ball handler, but I think Wellman and them feel differently. And making this move for Desmond Bane shows you that they feel differently, that they feel like that's our core. Paulo, France, Suggs at the one, and then you add Bane in at the two guard. That opens up the offense for Paulo and France. And maybe if we can get Suggs to set up the offense a little bit better, then maybe this offense can start flowing and be more efficient and start flowing. That's one of the reasons why I wanted us to have a point guard, because I wanted you to take the ball out of Paulo and Suggs' hands primarily and get an actual facilitator, somebody a floor general. That's why I've been saying I thought that the perfect fit in the perfect world, the perfect fit would have always been Chris Paul. That would have been always CP3 would have always been the perfect fit. The problem is that CP3 is 40 years old. If this was the CP3 that was in with the Clippers, absolutely. With the Rockets, cool. Well, OKC, they 1 year, yeah. Even the year when they went to the finals in Phoenix, if you had that version of Chris Paul, that elevates the Orlando Magic so much because good mid-range shooter plays defense and is going to set up everybody and get everybody efficient, easy shots. I don't know. Desmond Bane can facilitate because Desmond Bane, I think he averages 5 assists as well. So Desmond Bane can facilitate. He can do that. But he's not your primary baller. He is a shooting guard. He's not a point guard. He's not a combo guard. He's not a guy who you can play at the one or you can play at the two. He's going to be your two. So your one is going to be Suggs. Your two is going to be Bane. Your three is going to be Franz. Your four is going to be Paulo. And it seems like right now that Wendell is going to be your five unless they make another move. I hope that they do make another move because I don't think that just having Bane is just going to just be it. Now, the Eastern Conference, like I said before, is completely wide open because Boston, they dealing with their injuries, and there's also a lot of rumors that it might end up getting rid of Jaylen Brown. They might trade Jaylen Brown. I don't think they'll do it this summer. I wouldn't be surprised if Jaylen Brown gets traded by a trade deadline, depending on how Boston looks. I know talks about Giannis have gotten cold. I think that might also be a trade deadline move as well. You still have the Knicks, obviously, and you also have Indiana because right now they're in the NBA Finals and the best team as of right now, the best team in the Eastern in the Eastern Conference. Saying all that, oh, and I forgot about Cleveland, who was the number one seed last year. Uh, Darius Garland, he's having surgery, so he's going to be out for at least for the next couple of months. So he's not going to start the season. He probably won't start the season until late November, mid December, somewhere in that range. So you're not going to see Darius Garland for a while. So who's to say how that team kicks off? I think the Orlando Magic have a great chance and a great opportunity if this move, and I think this is a way better version of KCP of what you thought. This is like a tremendous better version of what you were hoping for everybody who was optimistic about KCP last year. This was a way better version of your optimistic feelings on KCP because guy, like I say, he's 26 years old, and you have him under contract for the next 4 years. Now, have him. Franz contract kicks in this summer. I think Suggs does too. You will sign Paulo to an extension this summer, and his contract will kick in I think probably kick in 2027, either next year or 2027. So you got these guys for the next. This is your 4 to 5 for the next 4 to 5 years. So we are on track. So right now is definitely time. Like I said, the clock is ticking. Now people are going to be watching the Orlando Magic because now this really puts them in the forefront. This really puts them in the forefront of this could potentially be the best team and one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference Finals loading. That's my word for the year. Loading. The Eastern Conference Finals is loading for the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic summer of 2025 is loading. I've been saying it on Twitter, loading summer 2025 loading. And already, we ain't even got to the summer yet. I don't even think it's officially summer during the season standpoint. It could be on those Father's Day. I don't know exactly when summer officially starts, but we still playing the NBA Finals. Like Game 5 is tomorrow. Like we're still playing the NBA Finals. And yet the Orlando Magic are making moves. The NBA is so funny. Like the NBA is so funny that you're able to make moves while the NBA Finals is going on. Like most other sports, you can't make no trades during the Super Bowl. You ain't making no trades during the World Series. So the trades are being made in the middle of the NBA Finals. It's kind of crazy. So I wasn't expecting this type of news on both fronts. One, so earlier I thought that news wouldn't drop until after the season was officially over, and I wasn't expecting the Magic to be the first team to pull the trigger on a move because I really thought the first domino to fall would either be Giannis or at least KD. One of those two. Because I know Windhorst said that talks on Giannis, there was no market for Giannis. Talks on Giannis went cold. There is no talks about going on with Giannis. So that one got a little cold. So I'm like, okay, so Kevin Durant is going to be probably the first official move to be made. But no, the Orlando Magic, Jeff Wilman, and Anthony Parker said, hey, hold my beer. Hold my beer. Hold my beer. We about to make a move. We're showing you that we're not playing. And that's one of the things that I've been wanting this organization to do for a long time, is to realize who you are. To realize who you are. And what I mean by that, you have a cornerstone franchise player. I feel like you have two. I feel like you have two cornerstone franchise players. You got two guys that you could run this franchise with Paulo and Franz. I really do. I really think that those two are the dynamic duo. I really feel like those two can lead this team to a championship. They just need help around them, specifically shooting, specifically scoring, specifically offense, because this offense is bad. And bad is an understatement. This offense was atrocious last year. You know, this offense was 30 in points, 27 in efficiency, 27 in shooting percentage, 22nd in shooting from 2, 30th in shooting from 3, 29th in field goals made, 29th in field goals attempted. We don't take shots. And the times we do take shots, we don't make them. Desmond Bane helps that a lot, and they realized that. They understood that. Again, did you give up a lot to get him? Yeah, but part of that is because you had KCP on your roster and you wanted to get rid of him. And I'm so glad they decided to give up KCP versus giving up uh, Anthony Black, or giving up Jonathan Isaac, or giving up a Jet, or even giving up a Harris. Like, even though I do think that all those guys should be on the market, because I'm not one of those ones that like, oh, these guys are off the table. Like, to me, I feel like the only untouchables really were Paulo and Franz. I thought, depending on the right player, you should be able to be willing to move on from Jalen Suggs if it helps upgrade your team. So I was never one of those people that was like that. That was like, oh, everybody is untouchable. Like, no, all these people were available. However, the person who I really wanted us to get rid of was KCP. Like, because anytime when I'm on 2K and I make a trade, I always try to make sure to give up KCP. Like, KCP is the person who I'm ready to give up, because that's the person who I always give up, because I think that he never fit the team. It wasn't a good fit, and it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right move. It was a minimum move. It was a move that was like, at least we did something. Like, technically we made a move. No, this is an actual move. This is an actual move. I like the fit. I like the player. I like how it rolls in. Again, the compensation, what we gave up, I am not going to lie and sit back like I ain't side-eyed it, especially when you see the initial report for unprotected picks and a pick swap. You definitely side-eye it. You definitely look at it kind of crazy. You definitely look at it like, Orlando, bro, what are y'all doing? Like, you definitely look at it crazy like that. You definitely do. But at the same time, when you sit back and you dissect it and you look at it and you like, man, you look at KCP, you look at the contract, you're really paying more for what you for doing what you did last summer. So it's kind of like when you make a mistake and now you gotta try to correct the mistake. So now you gotta pay double for it, because if you would have just made the right decision last year, you wouldn't be in this mess. But because that now, because again, if KCP wasn't on this roster, you didn't have that contract, you didn't need to unload that contract, and you made this draft, you made this trade, it's also less picks. And the Magic still have pick 25. So they still have a pick in this draft. I would have wanted them to get rid of both their picks, because I've been saying, once you draft Paulo, you don't need any more young players. Like, you need to be looking at veterans to help your team. But that's my point about realizing who you are. You need to be using some of these other picks to bring in players. But the fact that they kept the 25th pick, who knows? Memphis might not even want the 25th pick. But the fact they did keep the 25th pick in this year's draft, they still have an asset to go out there and acquire and bring in some other young talent. And I don't know if another move would be made. I would love to see if they were able to could bring in a Malik Monk or could bring in a Nikhil Alexander. I know from a salary standpoint, some of this stuff's starting to get dicey, especially when you look at Desmond Bane's contract. And I'm going to have a video about that as well, looking at the contract and looking at the actual fit between him and the other three that we have. But this is really just a notion to talk about the actual move itself, how it is a good move. Ultimately, it is a good move. Was it expensive? Yeah, it was expensive. But still, ultimately, it's still a good move. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm surprised, completely surprised, happily surprised though, but completely surprised that the Magic pulled off this trade so early and was the first team to make a move this summer. I, hey, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. Oh, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. Oh, we gonna be playing the song, play the song, play the song all year long. Like, subscribe, if you haven't, comment below. If you haven't, click that bell, get more videos. Hey, I holla. Remember, Eastern Conference Finals loaded.